As you know, cattle infection by Mycobacterium avium paratuberculosis, the agent of Johne's disease in cattle, occurs mainly the first weeks of life. This is why, to control efficiently paratuberculosis, in an infected herd, it is recommended to combine a test and cull strategy in adults with hygienic measures and food management measures to prevent new infection among calves. In the field, however, these kinds of measures are often difficult to implement, since for the farmer it means extra costs and substantial changes in their habits. In this context, we need a tool for detecting MAP shedding in very young calves in infected herds and to assess risk factors associated with it in our field conditions. To do this, we set up a field study based on longitudinal follow-up of calves from heavily infected herds. These herds were recruited on a voluntary basis among herds involved in an intensive control of paratuberculosis led by Arcia in the south part of Belgium. The study design was to take 3 fecal samples from calves at 7, 30 and 60 days of life. At each sampling, information about the type of rearing method, suckling calves versus bucket-fed calves, the origin of colostrum and milk given to the calf, and the housing type, strict or not strict separation with adult cows, were noted. With the first calf sample, feces were also taken from its mother. Since the amount of MAP in the feces of young calves were assumed to be very low, we need a very sensitive technique to do this study. This is the reason why we choose to use the liquid culture medium Paragem from Thermo Fisher and confirmation with LSI Vetmax Paratuberculosis Advanced IS 900 PCR after 42 days of incubation to detect MAP in these samples. Feces from mother were also analyzed using the LSI Vetmax Paratuberculosis qPCR from Thermo Fisher. 10 herds accepted to participate to the study. A total of 141 calves were followed during 2 months of age, from which we analyzed 268 fecal samples in this study. Calves were classified as exposed to MAP if at least one of the 3 samples were detected positive for MAP, and as not exposed if all the samples were tested negative. We could detect MAP in 24 calves. This represents an exposure rate of 17%. This is higher than what we expected in the beginning, but is consistent with other comparable recent studies. What about risk factors? The only significant factor was the rearing method. Among suckling calves, there were 41% shedders versus 10% for the non-suckling ones. Maybe due to the relative weak number of calves, we were not able to find a significant effect of the within-herd MAP shedder prevalence, nor of the MAP shedding status of the calf mother, nor for the housing system, nor within the non-suckling calves, between those fed with colostrum and milk from a commercial origin versus the on-farm origin. These results are promising, since they give practical information for the control of paratuberculosis in heavily infected herds, but it is not yet possible to assess the sensitivity and the specificity of this approach. So we will continue to follow all these calves regularly in PCR and serology to see if they become or not MAP shedders in the future.